I personally feel like my main goal in life is just making everything as whimsical as possible. So where do we draw the line? Let me tell you, most certainly not at pajamas. Obviously, you don't have to make your own pajamas to make them whimsical, but hear me out. I got myself this fabric because I really wanted a pair of pajamas that basically feels like I'm just walking out of a cottage into my garden. I'm having a little coffee in my hand. And this is what I'll be wearing, and I think that kind of fits the theme. So this is just a yarn-dyed gingham in the color Plum. So I'm not sure how well this translates on screen, but I'd say it's more of like a jam color, if that makes sense. I mean, Plum, I guess, is always a little bit more red than purple. So this is the fabric I have. It's 3 meters long. And we're going to make a pair of pajama trousers that have the little ruffle at the bottom and a matching top, because I just feel like I need more whimsy in my life. I just need every single bit of my life to be a little bit more whimsical than necessary. So let's get going. So I spent all of last night cutting out this pattern because, as you know, a seamstress's least favorite job is always printing out, taping together and cutting out that bloody pattern. Ta-ta-ta-ta. Okay, so this is the ruffle pants pattern by Make It Yours, the label on Etsy. I'll maybe show you here. So I spent a hot second thinking about how to actually make trousers, because I have made trousers before, but it just leaves me as soon as it's finished. I feel like skirts just make sense. Trousers are just like, there are too many weird seams that need to go somewhere. I actually had someone at work asking me a little bit ago whether I could make him a pair of trousers, and I was like, I can make you a skirt, but trousers? Like, even the baguette trousers I made some time ago, like, they fit, but they're just a little bit too long in the crotch, so they just like hang a little bit too much, which is why I always wear my Halara trousers instead. So let's just hope this ends up a little bit better, because I don't have a good history of making trousers. So what I've already done is I've cut this out in a size 42 according to my hip measurements, and then cut the waist down to a size 38 according to my waist measurement. I've also cut like a good 10 centimeters of it because I am very short, and I also like my trousers to be just a little bit too short. Like, if there was ever any flooding in my flat, I could walk through it. Like, I want to be prepared for everything. Actually, on that note, fun fact, because me and Jack have this constant argument about whether you should be wearing pajamas when you go to bed. Maybe this is too much information. Jack's not a big fan of sleeping in clothes, whereas I wear so many clothes sleeping. Like, it's sometimes actually quite funny. He'll be like not wearing anything, and I'll be there literally wearing like pajama trousers. I always wear like an undershirt, like a little, what do you call them, a cami. Then I would wear like a t-shirt, that's my sleeping t-shirt, and then I might be quite cold, so I'd wear a jumper over it. So he's just looking at me, he's like, are you literally wearing like 3 layers to bed? And I'm like, yeah. Let me know what team you are, because I strongly believe you should be wearing pajamas, because otherwise you're just sweating into the bed. I don't know. Let me know what you think. But so on that note, we then argue, and I'm always saying, you know, Jack, well, what if like someone breaks into the house? Like, I'd be naked, so I don't want that. Just like, someone breaks into the house, you know, you have far worse problems than being naked. I just need to be prepared for everything. So end of rant. I thought for a second, I was like, oh, actually I can put them on the fold, can't I? Like, this seam here can go on the fold, but no, these are both the fronts. The only seams of the 2 fronts that touch is this curve here. Yeah, so we'll have to really think about that when we sew it together, because yeah, trousers are just too complicated. Along with these 2 pieces, I also have a ruffle and a waistband. So these are the only things I need to cut out. For the top, I was thinking I'm just gonna use my Claire top, the one that I used for the failed pinafore, but also the pinafores that worked out before, because I just want something plain, something that's also quite cropped. And if I have enough fabric, I might put a little ruffle onto this here as well. So just like the tiniest sleeve, little ruffle, very plain, because I want the trousers to just go to the waist, and then, so it shouldn't really be longer than this. So I don't know if you've noticed, but this is my newest mate. This is the jumper that I was showing you on Instagram and had like a bit of a laughing fit about it, because when I first made this, I made the ribbing a little bit more tense, and I also didn't cast it off very well. And then I tried to put it on and I just couldn't get it off my shoulders. So I actually put it on Archie and it fit him quite perfectly. And I was like, I made a jumper that fit my dog. Look at this man. I went so wrong with this jumper and accidentally made a jumper that is so tiny that it fits Archie. It definitely doesn't fit me, but you look handsome. So I've got a baguette jumper now, which I'm very excited about. I'm just going off topic here completely. let's cut that out. Okay, so I've got everything cut out, and it's important to note this is the back, and I actually cut it out twice because I have noticed from my several attempts of making this pattern that it actually sits better if you line it. So when I made the other pinafore that kind of failed a couple of videos ago, I didn't line it, so it was a little bit too flimsy and thin. So this time we're going to line it again with the same fabric. And also, very crucial, hear me out, if you're making a pajama, don't forget the pockets. You will need pockets, even if it's just a pajama. I've got so many pajamas that don't have pockets and they're an absolute waste. Like, what am I meant to do with this? So we're gonna do pockets. I just cut out the normal side seam pockets that I use for my skirts. So could have probably been a different pocket that's more trouser specific, that kind of goes more into the waistband, but meh. So this is the ruffle for the trousers. So I actually cut out the same size of ruffle, just longer, for the top, so that the width of the ruffle is the same both on top and on trousers. But that means everything's cut out and we can start assembling. But I'm actually thinking I might take Archie out first because it's meant to be raining all day, torrentially, from 12 o'clock. So maybe I'm better off taking him out now because I actually think my hair looks quite nice today. Would be a shame to ruin that. So doggy walk and then sewing. So I've got some hot cross buns that I made the other day because it is Easter and I felt very British in making hot cross buns, and then I told Jack about it and he was like, do you eat hot cross buns for Easter? And I was like, you're the British person, okay? But obviously being German, I made an Osterzopf recipe instead, so like a German Easter yeast cake type thing. And I want you all to remember that any type of German cake is basically just very slightly sweet bread. So this is not at all sweet. So I had to put like half ton of honey on each of them to make them taste like anything other than bread. Not that I'm complaining. And then I'm going to start assembling the trousers. So we are going to start with our 2 panels of the trousers, and we're going to assemble them and try them on before we put on the ruffle to make sure that the length is actually what we want it to be. So now, we don't want to do this wrong. We don't want to do twice the same side because that happened with my last project, and we want to save ourselves that 15 minutes of sewing. We now have 2 different pieces and we can't possibly make the same piece twice. Now we'll just fit our front pieces on here because I'd rather have a not perfect edge at the top here than having completely unmatched pattern the entire way along. And I'm finding myself here in the most uncomfortable position ever, wondering why my back hurts. So this is what we've got now. This is the top bit, so we're going to sew along the side seams here and there and leave this bit open. And now I'm realizing also put in a side pocket, which I completely forgot as I was pinning these together. So pocket first, side seams, and then this bit here will remain open for the next seam. So we currently have 2 pairs of legs and we somehow need to turn this into a pair of trousers. As it currently stands, we have the crotch completely open and just the side seams closed. So now we need to sew along the crotch the 2 legs together. I'll have to do this in a way where basically the idea is I take this and put this into that, but how would that be done? And then I would pull this out. That would be wrong. Okay, it's more difficult than I thought. Wrong sides out, right sides out, into wrong sides out. And then if I sew this bit together here, where I've got my wrong side out, if I was to then pull this out, I'd have wrong side out on both sides. Yes, okay, let's do that. we've got a pair of trousers. It is a little bit loose at the waist, but that's obviously the whole point of pajamas. Pockets are not necessarily in the right place or sitting very well. I also don't feel like redoing them. So especially this one here, not sitting that well. The next step is going to be putting on the waistband, maybe just to kind of see how high it actually sits. Because currently it could be a little bit higher, but if I pull it higher, then it generally becomes a little bit tight. So I think once the waistband is on, I'll have a better idea of how it actually sits. But yeah, let's put on a waistband. So I've made a circular waistband and I will fit that to the top of my trousers in such a way that one side remains open for now. So basically I will attach it to the inside, sew along the entire seam here. We've attached the waistband, which will now be folded over like this and folded like that so that it sits like this. But I want to have two buttonholes right here so that the elastic which I have, which will be put into the waistband that I can then tie a bow with, can come out of here so that I can fit the waistband depending on how tight I want it. So far so good. I feel like the waistband itself could have been a little bit more firm. Like I feel like I always get elastic that is just very soft. Maybe I just get poor quality elastic, but I'm also not sure where to get better elastic from. So this could just be generally a little bit more sturdy. It does kind of cinch in the waist without it being uncomfortable, so I can still pull it away. So yeah, generally speaking, it's getting there. And most importantly, I don't hate it so far. So that's already a good start. So now I just need to figure out how long I actually want the trousers to be with the ruffle, because I almost feel like the length it currently is kind of a good length. I do like showing my ankles, even though I know it's quite scandalous. So this is the ruffle that now goes on the bottom. So I'll have to see with this attached how much I have to shorten the trousers to make sure I get a good length that still shows the ankle. And then we're going to put this in a circle, gather it and sew it onto the trousers, and probably hem it before I gather it, because otherwise it's just going to be even more difficult to hem it. So let's go. The trousers are done. They're looking honestly so cute. I am really proud of myself. I mean, the placement of the pockets could have been better, but I'm not too fussed, so I'm not going to change that. But other than that, they're actually so cute. I think I should be making more trousers. I was actually thinking about it because I obviously have my corduroy baguette trousers. But since I'm going to France in July to the Expedition concert, I will need baguette trousers that are not corduroy or wool. But that means we can now start with the bodice. So I have made this particular pattern many different ways before, and it's quite tricky trying to make a bodice in a way where the armholes are nicely finished if you don't have a sleeve. But luckily we do have a sleeve, so we don't have to do that this time. So basically we just take the front and the back, sew them together at the shoulder seams, do the same for the lining, and then we'll have this neckline hole here, and we just line the two up and sew them and twist them out, and then do a little top stitch, and then that's gonna be done. And do the side seams and then put in the sleeves, and then that's it. Should be quite easy, but also every time I claim something's gonna be easy, something really bad happens. So, but before I start that, I thought I'd talk to you guys about the show I'm currently watching, because it is one of my favorites and it's not overly talked about. So I thought if you haven't watched it yet, you need to. But a little introduction to how I got here. So do you guys remember Gran Hotel, like the Spanish, like Edwardian inspired soapy TV show? I was obsessed with it. Like I absolutely loved it. It is so good. It's like a little bit stupid, like really stupid, but I was so obsessed with it. My mum was obsessed with it. Like we were all obsessed with it. It was actually what got me into historical fashion. Like that is a big statement. But Alicia Alarcon, she's actually the reason why I do my hair the way I do my hair. I'm not actually talking about Grand Hotel here. I'm talking about Morocco, Love and Times of War. Have you guys heard of it? It is amazing. Like, hear me out, it is so good. So I think the Spanish title is Tiempos del Guerra. Sometimes since I try to speak Spanish, but it's just really good. So it's the same actress, but it's set in the 1920s, and they all have this absolutely adorable short curly haircut, which was partly why I cut my hair off. They just all look amazing, and they've got these little shoes that I actually bought as well from American Duchess, just because I wanted to have these little shoes as well. But I'm getting ahead of myself. It is basically a show about the Spanish-Moroccan War in 1920 and a group of nurses that go down to Morocco and open up a hospital. So there's not a lot of plot actually, because the main things happening are just love stories. Multiple different characters, all of them have their love stories that kind of like intertwine. I first watched it when I first moved to Dundee in 2018. It was on Netflix in the UK back then. Watched it, obsessed, but then they took it off and I didn't really watch it again for years. Like by now I've watched it 4 times or something. But what actually happened is I watched it, went away, and then wrote my little book and everything, did my stuff, and one day I was like, you know what? I should watch Morocco Love in Times of War again. And I turned it on and I'm like, you know, I was looking at it and I'm like, that's 100% Tiernan. In retrospect, I have just somehow written a fan fiction about this character. I mean, not really, but also Tiernan and this guy just look the same. Like when I first rewatched it, I was like, what's going on? It's insane. But also this brings me to one more thing I want to say very clearly, because beta readers who had read my book, some of them said they didn't like the idea of like some of the characters having a mustache. The Map of Stars Unbound is set in a very late Victorian period, so I gave most of the men a mustache because it was historically accurate. But people seem to not like the idea. And I was like, come on guys, I'm not talking about like 80s German footballer mustache. I'm talking about Alex Garcia mustache. And let's be very honest here. Take a look at Aaron Taylor-Johnson in Anna Karenina, and then look me in the eye and tell me that this mustache is not the hottest thing you've seen in your entire life. End of story. I'm gonna make my top now. Okay, bye-bye. Thank you. So this is where I'm at now. So I have the side seams finished up and the neckline finished up, but the armholes are still open because the sleeve will go into it. So now I have to figure out how long I actually want this for the ruffle to then go underneath. Because I'm kind of thinking this is the small of my waist and this is where the pants will also be the tightest. So I do not want to cover this. Otherwise I'll just look like a block. The top is done, but I personally think it might be a little bulky. So obviously it's a pajama, I don't need it to be fitted, and I need it to be loose enough to just go over my head, but I think we could do with a little bit more shaping. So what I'm thinking is I might just go in and see, this is where my bust line is, and just fold it over just a little bit. You see how I have more of an actual bust line now rather than that. I think it doesn't even have to be a dart, it could just be a little pleat, so I'll only really secure it down here, just to give myself a little bit more shape. So the back will still be pretty shapeless. I think it should still be loose enough to get it over my shoulders, just a little bit more fitted. I think this looks cute. Obviously it looks a little bit less straight when I have my microphone just randomly tucked to it, but kind of like that. So attaching the pleats and then making the sleeves, which I don't think I've actually properly talked to you guys about yet. So the sleeve is honestly pretty boring, nothing special. I just have a very little sleeve, goes right here. So nothing too exciting. It won't have a cuff, it will just be hemmed, and it's just meant to cover the top of the shoulder. It also doesn't really have a poof, just very basic, very clean, because I already feel like with this print, top, bottom, and ruffles, there's a lot going on. So what I'll do, attach this, sew up the sleeves, which is a very easy process. I just attach the side seams like this, which creates a tunnel. Then hem the bottom just by folding it over twice. Then gather the top into the armhole, sew that over, do a little overlock stitch, and that's us done. Okay, so one more stretch of sewing, and a little bit more watching of Love in Times of Warm. We are done, and it's so cute, honestly. I am so excited to wear this. I haven't tried it on yet together, but it just looks really adorable. I am super excited. This was a fun project, and also this fabric was really easy to work with. It's just 100% cotton. I think it's John Louden cotton. So they have this kind of gingham print in 3 different sizes and lots of different colors. I actually used this one as well when I made this blue gingham dress, but in blue, obviously. So quite like this fabric, and I would use it again, and it's not overly expensive. But also I'm coming to the end of the video now, and I'm realizing I haven't actually told you yet whether I got that job that I was talking about in the last video. So the thing is, it's currently the Saturday before Easter Sunday, and they sent me an email saying they wouldn't be able to get back to me this week because of the Easter closure of the uni. So I'd hear from HR after the weekend. So I was actually thinking, I had this whole big plan for how I would start this video if I didn't get the job, talking about how I'm now unemployed and how I need a new pajama. Whereas I also filmed this morning an introduction in which I was just kind of like, yeah, I just kind of want a new pajama, I guess. So you guys will actually have found out before I did, because depending on which intro you saw, you will now know whether I got the job or not. Okay, so hear me out. I really thought I'd be really funny about not getting this job and I'd turn it into content, but this is me now the day after getting the rejection, and I'm just sad and didn't sleep because I've been very worried about my future, and I don't have any other interviews lined up, so I'm not feeling overly well, so I didn't make a funny intro about it. Okay, back to the video. Either way, we are done with the sewing for the day, so I will actually try this on now because I'm very excited to see it both together, and I will show you guys as well. So we will just jump straight ahead and we will go and see the reveal. So a little recap on the pajamas. I've worn them for a couple of days now and I'm super happy with how they turned out. I did though move the pockets because I felt like with the pockets being so far down and then they kind of opened up a little bit over the widest point of my hips, it just made the whole pajama more like a 7 out of 10, but I felt like it had the potential to be a 10 out of 10. So I did end up moving the pockets all the way up to the waistband, which took way longer than it should have. I probably spent like an hour just moving the pockets, even though making the entire set of pajamas maybe took me 5 hours. So I'm not sure why it took me so long. But now the pockets are moved, and let me show you. They're now right here, which makes way more sense. So now I am absolutely obsessed with how these pajamas turned out, and I might have to make these pajamas in every single color for every single season. So get ready to see me making summer pajamas and autumn pajamas and winter pajamas as well. The one thing is, because it is cropped and has short sleeves, it is not the warmest, and obviously it's always very cold in my flat, as I always say. So as you can tell, I have to wear it with a cardigan, but I'm sure eventually summer will arrive in Scotland. But before we finish the video, I have to update you on the job situation, because it's been such a wild ride that I didn't really know where it was going when I filmed the outro. Because basically I was told that I was the reserve candidate, so they offered the job to someone else and then said if they turn it down, I would get it because I am suitable, but just not the first choice. So in this economy, I was like, you know, they're not going to turn it down. Like, they would be insane to turn this job offer down. It's also a permanent job at the Uni of Glasgow with like a lot of holidays and really good benefits. And I'm like, they're not going to turn it down. Like, this is not going to happen. Even though with my last Uni of Glasgow job where I was a lab technician, I was actually also the reserve candidate and ended up getting the job. But I just didn't see it happening. So I had accepted for myself that it wasn't happening and that I just had to continue looking for jobs. I fell into a bit of a hole because I was like, how are the chances that I'll ever find find a job in this economy. Like, I don't know what to do. I just have to keep applying, but it just feels like I might as well just throw my resume out of the window because no one's reading it anyways. So I wasn't very happy. I was like in a bad place, and that's where I ended up filming the outro. But I just like literally just got an email saying they offered me the job after all. So I didn't want to leave it with like you guys thinking I didn't get the job, even though it's literally like the day of me needing to publish the video. So I might be a little bit late today. But yeah, I just didn't want to leave you with the impression I didn't get the job when I just learned that I did get the job. And that is very exciting. Though that does mean that I will not be a YouTuber full-time anymore. So I might have to reconsider how many videos I can realistically achieve. But for now, that is not the case yet because I obviously haven't started the job yet. And I will keep you guys updated as things progress on how things are going to change on this channel. But I am honestly so relieved that I will be able to continue paying my bills. And as you know, this job has nothing to do with my PhD. I will not be a scientist anymore. So happy. After 10 years of being stuck in science, I will finally not be a scientist anymore. I am so relieved. I'm so happy. Like, yeah, it's just like this whole science thing that I've been doing just feels like one of those nightmares that you kind of like wake up and realize, oh no, wait, it's actually real. I'm really glad I don't have to do science anymore. I never have to do an iron extraction ever again. Okay, that's the end of the video. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video and I will see you in future videos. And I hope you all have a lovely day and I love you all. Thank you for being here. Thank you for going through all of these ups and downs with me. And yeah, I'm just very grateful. So, bye-bye.